Thanks, Conrad.
Okay. All right, and we should be live. I'll copy paste the URL just in case anybody wants that for whatever reason. And that's in the chat in case anybody wants it. All right. So it's still early, but it's ready to go whenever you guys are. So whenever you're comfortable and ready.
Okay, I have 6 o'clock. I would like to go ahead and get started. And first of all, I would like to just share how thankful and blessed I am to be able to preside over this meeting. And I thank God for this opportunity to bring this council together and all those that are in attendance tonight to be able to conduct the business of this great town of Apex. And I'll now go ahead and call the Apex Town Council special meeting for Monday, February 1st, 2021 to order. And with that, I do want to start a meeting by recognizing and celebrating the first day of Black History Month in our town. I read a Black History Month proclamation at the last meeting, and I would encourage all of you to please take time and visit our webpage and look at our Black History Month living exhibit. You'll find a lot of great information about the history of our town and Black history. So I do want to recognize Madam Clerk Donna Hush and Deputy Town Clerk Tessa Silver for all their work in this manner. So with that, I'll go ahead and take an attendance roll call. If you would please respond with here when I call your name. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Here.
Councilmember Killingsworth.
Here.
Councilmember Gant.
Here.
Councilmember Stallings.
Here.
All right, and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Here.
All right, great. So we have a full council, and I do want to remind all council members to please say your last name when we're making a motion, or if you're going to second any motion. And of course, all required voting would be completed by roll call tonight. So as you know, this is a special meeting to vote on public hearing items that we heard in our remote meeting on Tuesday, January 26th. Of course, for the purpose to comply with statute, which required a 24-hour period for public comments, we're going to proceed with each public hearing accordingly. And we'll hear each one in the order that was completed on the 26th. So if we don't have any questions or comments, we'll move forward with everything. Okay, we'll start with what was public hearing number 1. And it was presented by Sharon Cox and, of course, HRNA advisors. And it was a public hearing and possible motion regarding adoption of the Town of Apex Affordable Housing Plan. So if I can hear from staff right now, if there are any additional information we want to include, and if there were any comments since our last meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. This is Shannon. There were no official comments read into the public hearing email. However, we have had the comment survey open, and I received a couple through that survey that I'd just like to summarize very briefly.
Okay.
So there were no new substantive comments that would indicate changes are needed to the plan. We received a few questions asking about involvement of Wake County in plan development, comments supportive of energy efficiency, such as proposed through the Apex Cares program. There were comments supportive of flexibility in the UDO to support affordable housing, support for hiring the housing program manager, and finally, some concerns about not in my backyard attitudes when projects do move forward. And that's just the brief summary of the additional comments received in the survey form.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Cox? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to discussion now. And of course, after discussion, possible motion, I think we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Cox, we have 3 drafts. Is that correct from the last meeting?
So there is the recommended draft from the steering committee, and then there's 1 page with possible alternate wording that was for the incentive zoning condition. So really it would be to support adoption of the draft as recommended by the steering committee or with the possible alternate wording.
Okay. Okay, discussion is open.
Mayor?
Yes.
This is Dozier. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion and happy to have discussion. I think I already kind of laid out there what I felt about this last time and said I would make a motion at the appointed time to, and I still, after, since that time frame, the information that I received or we just spoke about, still would like to make a motion to adopt the original plan that was from the steering committee that I was part of, just sort of in a supportive role. I do see this plan as a policy prescription. As a plan, not really a policy prescription, rather. For a lot of the reasons that we already spoke about, the plan is consistent with fair housing laws, with at the federal level, at the North Carolina state level for many years. Again, it's not a mandate, it's a plan, but it's a good plan that was developed by professionals, including our staff and consultants, and professionals, which is the people in the community. They know what they want. And so I think that it sets the vision for our future with goals and recommendations. I think they also, in doing so, achieved the vision and some of the principles that we've spoken about. The planning board, there was questions that arose. There was questions related to clarifying, the section related to incentive zoning, but per state law, in any conditional zoning petition, specific conditions may be proposed by the applicant or the town, but only those approved by the town and consent by the applicant can be incorporated. As you know, we're bound by state law, and the changes proposed to that are just, I don't think that they're necessary to make any changes to a thoughtful document that was put together over a period of time by a lot of folks. So that's my motion, and those are my thoughts.
This is Killingsworth, Audra Killingsworth. I will second that motion. I agree with our Mayor Pro Tem Dozier. The whole idea of having this plan is to ensure that some affordable housing somewhere is done within Apex. And I think this plan outlines, how to do that in a multifaceted way. And I think that's our goal, is to try to hit it from as many angles as possible. And I think the steering committee and those involved with this process have done a wonderful job. And I appreciate all the work and the time that went into this.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Dozier, by Mayor Pro Tem Dozier, and a second by Councilmember Killingsworth to adopt the original draft that was recommended by the steering committee. Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Gant.
Yeah, Mayor, because some of the, a lot of discussion in the planning board and comments we received up until now have kind of been isolated to one small section of the plan. I have a strong desire to have a discussion about that. That's maybe a little bit separate from the overall plan. And so I'd like to amend the motion to accept the wording of the staff and planning board recommendation. And if I guess second, hopefully have a vote about that section before we move on to the overall vote.
You're
I
muted.
think you're on mute.
Okay, any other?
Oh, okay. So the question was, would I amend my motion?
No, I would like to amend the motion. I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay, so
we can have a separate discussion about this.
Okay, all right. Let me hear from Council Member Mahaffey, please, before we proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I've heard the concerns raised about this, the content on that page. I appreciate those concerns, given that there's no agreement between the members of the steering committee and the broader community here. I'm not comfortable making that change at this time. I wish we had more time to hash this out and find a better wording, but I'm not comfortable making the change at this moment proposed.
Okay, I just want to be clear. So you're not comfortable in Councilmember Gant's recommendation to amend it on the motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Dozier. Is that correct?
I think Councilmember Gant made a motion, and I'm not seconding that motion. If that's what you're asking.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's go to Councilmember Stallings, please.
I agree with Mayor Pro Tem in her remarks, and so I support the original wording.
Okay, so let's go back to Councilmember Gant. You have the floor at this time if you want to proceed and just share more information about, your justification of amending it and where we stand there. So can you provide more information, please?
Well, yeah, sure. If I don't get a second on it, then it's not really worth kind of talking about that that motion. But my justification was just related to I was thinking about the implementation of this plan and how it likely will originate some of the things, especially in that section, will originate in the planning committee with myself and Council Member Mahaffey. And I don't really see very much difference in the different versions related to implementation. I think we would have the same discussion about what things that we'd like to see as far as incentives, and have a discussion with HVA and other people about that. So if we can get them on board a little more, that's why I made the motion, is to get them on board a little more with the same implementation and same, I perceive, strengths and weaknesses of the plan. That's why I made the motion. But I'd rather discuss the whole plan going forward if I have a second on the motion.
Okay, so based on what I recorded, we don't have a second for your motion, so we'll go with the original motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Dozier. We have a second there. So if there's no further discussion, we will go ahead and vote on this. All right, is everybody good with that? All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Well, sorry, real quick, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to comment. We have a small section that there was some controversy about, but I think the whole plan is a great guidepost. I'm excited to vote for it. With the planning board, or no, with the steering committee recommendation, because we're spending money on this issue already with our last budget and potentially future budgets, and having some guideposts and some background about this issue, I think is really important. So I'm really excited to vote for it.
Okay, great. And I will say, it's recommendations made by, many different people, many perspectives. A lot of stakeholders want to be involved with what we're doing. I'm excited about it as well. And I think we can still get to where we're trying to go. We just have to keep the vision in mind and really picture a young family waiting to unlock that door to a house or to an apartment. And everything comes into play with the implementation. And I think every voice was heard, and we just move forward, and I think we can still get there. So I really appreciate everyone presenting their comments. And so we'll go ahead and move forward with the vote. So Mayor,
if I might just,
sure.
Mayor, may I just say one comment? And it's really to echo what you said, but just as a reminder for anyone who may be listening, this was a vision for this council just a year ago. And I am just so grateful for the steering committee and our advisors and consultants. And you all just did a fabulous job of putting together such a thoughtful and comprehensive document in really less than a year's time. So thank you for such a quality product.
Absolutely. Great point made. All right. Anyone else before we vote? Okay, all in favor say aye, and any opposed no. So Mayor Pro Tem Dozier?
Happy to say aye.
All right. Councilmember Killingsworth?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Gant?
Aye.
All right. Councilmember Stallings?
Aye.
And Councilmember Mahaffey?
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. We have an affordable housing plan. Great job, everyone. Awesome. Well done. All right, we'll move to the next item. Thank you, Shannon, for your work. We'll move to the next item. It will be public hearing to consider and receive input on providing an economic development incentive for Project Delta. That was presented by Joanna Ham. So do we need an action on that one? Let's see here. Can we hear from Joanna on that, please, Ms. Helms, or someone from staff?
Yes, sir. We don't have anything to add from what was presented at the meeting last week. This is the economic development grant policy that's approved by the town. They do qualify, and in the packet you receive the amount that they would be that would be available to them per the tax grant. So it would just be a motion by the board, by the council to approve.
Okay, I got, thank you very much, by the way. I have Councilmember Mahaffey. Go ahead, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I motion, this is Councilmember Happy, a motion we approve the Economic Development Incentive Grant for Project Delta.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Mahaffey. There's a second.
Killingsworth, second.
All right, Killingsworth is second. All right, discussion. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Gant.
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. All right, move now to public hearing to consider and receive public input on providing financial assistance for small business support initiative during winter 2021 and beyond to offset hardships created by COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Helms.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. We do have a few updates from the proposal that we sent to you at the last meeting. So if I could just take a minute to go through those updates for you before you consider your motion. Regarding the parking to dining program, we had anticipated the purchase of 35 water barriers to assist with blocking off those parking spaces. We have since found out that we might not need to purchase those barriers, so we would remove that cost of $12,900 from the ask, if you will. And in the configuration, as Colleen showed, Colleen Murray is our small business downtown and small business development coordinator. It would not be all the parking spaces; it would only be 13 out of 30 spaces. But anyway, did want to make a note that we just found out in the last day or two that we most likely will not need to purchase any new water barriers. We can do with what we have. So that's one change. Regarding the Winter on Salem initiative, we are now proposing that we do not close the street. We got a lot of feedback from the merchants that they would prefer us not to do that. We think we can create some of the atmosphere, the snow zone, if you will, in the Depot Plaza. And so we are proposing that we not close the street for that. I will say, though, that Colleen Moraes has sent out a survey to all of our merchants and business owners in that area about this, and we do have a lot of support for that. However, a lot of them are concerned about having it during the winter and might prefer it be more in the spring. So we are going to continue to have that discussion with them and quickly determine. Our thought was that we would have a Winter on Salem, one in February and then one in March. And again, this is a very merchant and business driven opportunity where the town would just facilitate some other opportunities for them. But again, the feedback that we're getting is no street closure, which we're fine with, and then also perhaps moving this into the spring, whereby more people might be apt to come downtown and participate in some of the specials that the merchants and businesses will be doing. So we'll investigate that, but we'd still hope to have 2 of those events, as was outlined in the proposal. Another update is that the small business highlight videos, we did not have a proposal on the cost for that at the previous town council meeting. We now do have a cost proposal from that of $15,904. That's working with our friends at Keno Mountain. So that is a cost estimate that we have now put into the equation. And then last but not least, we are recommending at this time that we remove the proposal for the grant and or microloan program due to feedback we've gotten from the merchants and businesses. We have, through our research, it's become clear that really an option for a grant is not possible due to legal restrictions and legislative restrictions. So we could do a loan or a microloan program. However, our businesses that we've talked to, now we haven't talked to all of them, but the ones that we've talked to have indicated that they really might not be so interested in a microloan of $2,000 to $5,000. They can get that through other means with a lot less trouble, because we do have a pretty extensive, or we would have a pretty extensive application process and vetting process. And then there would be, of course, staff time as well. So they just didn't see the bang for the buck. But we can still do that. If that's something the council wants to do, we can try it. But the feedback that we initially got was if it was a full out grant of $2,000 to $5,000, we had a lot of interest. But if it's a microloan, there just wasn't the interest there. And of course, we've already done the larger loan program and got the interest there. So our recommendation would be to remove it at this time. We can always revisit it at your wish. So those are the changes there, which makes the cost and the approval for the expenditures. You can see there on the outline that was given to you, we have an estimated cost of about $45,000 for all those initiatives, with the exception of the loan program. And if you wanted to pursue the loan program, we could add in whatever dollar amount you would want to start with, whether that be $50,000 or something different. So those are the changes, Mayor and Council. I'm here, and Colleen Moraes is here, also happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Councilmember Mahaffey.
Thank you, Mayor. Joanna, I got two questions. First, with regard to the video production cost of $15,000 and some change, is that just the production of the videos? Does that cover any advertising campaign associated with the videos, or would that be done separately?
Good question. So that would be for the professional production of those videos, which will be evergreen. They won't just be for now. They'll be ones that we can use for indefinitely. There would be no cost as far as the advertising, because we would utilize those through our social media channels, the town's YouTube and website, the economic development YouTube and website. And so we would have access to a lot of different social media platforms to utilize those. If we wanted to come back in and do any kind of voiceover changes, if you will, we could do that for minimal costs. But the big bulk of that cost is the actual production of the initial videos.
Okay, I guess my comment would just be if we're going to spend $15,000 to produce these high quality, excellent videos to highlight our small businesses, I think it would be worth it to spend a few $1,000s on advertising, internet advertising, whether it's YouTube boosting or Facebook or whatever.
Okay,
cool. More bang for the buck there.
Well, great. We can certainly do that, and we've put a little cushion, if you will, in our overall estimated cost for things like that. So that's a great idea, and we'll definitely look into that.
Okay, and with regards to the microloan program, I'm obviously disappointed that the conclusion is we don't have the authority to do a direct grant program for financial assistance. This is something that I inquired about over email a couple times, and the answer I got back was, the same as you reported to us, that the authority's not there for us to do this type of grants. So I just wanted, this isn't more of a question, just a comment. I'm incredibly disappointed. I'm interested in supporting our businesses in any way we can. I would encourage you and your team and the people that you're working with to kind of go back to the drawing board here and see if there is something within our authority that we can do behind a microloan program. I don't know what it is, obviously, or I'd tell you, but this is a time when we need to really think creatively and do what we can to help our businesses survive the winter to the spring. So thank you for coming with this program. I'm sorry and disappointed it didn't work out, but I appreciate the effort put forward to this point.
Sure. Well, the recommendation was to pull it from this specific proposal, but we can definitely look into, what it would take to get that authority, if you will, as a municipality, and we're happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Hey, Ms. Helms, I just have a question on the feedback you received from the businesses. What was it that they presented why they were not interested in the microloan? I'd just like to know what was the deciding factor.
Great. Well, I'm going to defer to Colleen Moraes, who had the actual one-on-one contact with those businesses. So, Colleen?
Yeah. So, Mayor, the response that I really received was, at that level, even though the interest rate would be higher, essentially on a micro loan level, it would be faster for them to get a credit card or just get a low interest equity line or a personal lend position for their business that would require very little effort for most of these people because they have pretty good relationships with banks. And even for the people that might not be able to get something through a bank or a credit card or something like that, they needed more than what a microloan would really be able to do for them. So they kind of got in that catch-22. They really weren't in that sort of at the $50,000 loan level. That really wasn't somewhere where they needed to be on the emergency loan. And the microloan is just sort of too small and not impactful enough. So, I mean, some of them were really looking for more like $10,000 to $20,000, and some of the businesses I talked to, they the emergency loan wasn't really where they were. Plus, with the new re-upping of the monies through the EIDL program as well as through the SBA's PPP program, they have certain access to other capital that in certain instances would probably take care of this for them.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Thank you, Mayor. This is probably precluded also, but I just thought I would ask this question. Are we, or maybe you might have to get back to us, but is there a legal way to purchase items for the businesses? So for example, if we purchased, heaters, for example, I know that then they've got to be stored somewhere, but, they would belong to us. But are there ways to do in-kind type things where you are making a purchase or things that are going out the door? So that would just throw that out if there's a way to support businesses for something like that.
Yeah, I would have to defer to our legal department for that, of course. I don't know. But good idea. I like your way of thinking.
Very good. Any other questions for Ms. Helms or Ms. Moraes?
I had some, Mayor.
Okay, sorry.
Ms. Moraes, would you want to weigh in too about the advertising for the videos? Do you have anything to add about the videos and maybe advertising as well?
Sure. So I think that Member Mahaffey's suggestion of utilizing it for boosts on social media and stuff like that, we have that as part of our proposal. So what I would say is wrapping the essentially the video pieces into the small business social media marketing boost that we talked about. And then as far as more destination marketing, more radio type ads, if we want to potentially do some of that, we can certainly do that. Typically for on-air video production, it's usually a 30-second donut. I don't know. I would really need to talk to communications and our experts at Keno Mountain who would be doing this to see what would work best, essentially, and what they believe would work best. And then we can certainly bring another potential proposal on that side of it. But at this point, we do have it built in for the social media.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Killingsworth.
Colleen, could you also speak to the road closure there? They didn't want the road closure. Could you talk to us about why?
Sure. Well, they basically said when I went around talking to them on the February the 22nd, and then in surveys and emails and everything following up from all of our discussions, they just didn't feel that losing the parking for social distancing was worthwhile, because there's that balance also that we're trying to teeter on here with it being a promotional event versus a special event. Closing the road, although might allow for more social distancing, it might sort of make an environment that is sort of not so COVID friendly. So as much as the businesses might benefit, the impact, because we're walking a fine line here on, what is a promotion and what is an event. And we can't have events because gatherings in North Carolina are limited to no more than 100 people right now. So, we're kind of making sure that we're walking a fine line where we need to be. And I think leaving the road open definitely makes it more of a promotional thing in the store, visiting the businesses, and closing the road makes it more of a special event. So I think that's kind of where they were they were a little hesitant with some of this. Plus, having the traffic driving directly by and seeing the sidewalk sales and seeing the on-street dining and stuff like that, I think might do a decent amount of marketing for this also.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the recommendations presented by?
This is Stallings. I make a motion that we recommend to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, have a motion second. Any further discussion on it before we vote? All right.
And this is a motion to recommend approval with the changes presented today, correct?
That's
Okay.
correct. Thank you, sir.
Correct.
All right. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier,
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth,
Aye.
Councilmember Gant,
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, we move on. Thank you so much, Economic Development. Y'all rock. Good job. All right, we're moving on. Let's see what Planning and Community Development has to do today. So annexation number 699, we'll start with that one. So is presenting tonight is Diane Ken.
Good evening. We did not receive any public comment on this public hearing item, and staff does recommend approval of the annexation for the Peak City Partners property at 1200 James Street.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Is there a motion?
It's Mahaffey, a motion to approve.
All right, motion Mahaffey to approve.
Second, Killingsworth.
Second, Killingsworth. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier,
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth.
Aye.
All right, Councilmember Gant,
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. All right, we move now to rezoning application 20CZ11. Possible motion to approve this rezoning presented tonight by Sarah Van Avery, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is the rezoning for the area subject properties you see here in this area south of Roberts Road, east of Green Level Church Road. We are looking at just over 10.5 acres, currently zoned rural residential. Proposed zoning is planned unit development conditional zoning. If y'all need me to go to any of the other PUD sides during your discussion, please let me know and I'll be happy to.
Okay. Were there any additional comments presented?
No, sir, there were not.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, hearing none, I'll take a motion if you have one. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve. Gant.
All right, motion to approve Gant.
I'll second that, Killingsworth.
All right, second Killingsworth. Any other discussion on it before we vote?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is Mahaffey. The question here concerned the walking path, potential walking path to Roberts Road. So I just want some clarity. Are we motioning to approve with or without the walking path?
I believe the motion or the presentation was to accept their proposal that the walking path would be basically along the guard trail, and they would not, unless they were within 300 feet of the northwest corner, would not have to construct a path to Roberts Road.
Okay.
Is that right, Sarah?
Pretty close. It is, as it was proposed in the PUD, is that they will not build a direct pedestrian path internal from the subdivision to Roberts Road unless there is a street within 275 feet of this corner here. Otherwise, their pedestrian path was through the Pollard Place extension out to the existing path on Guard Trail Way up to Roberts Road.
And the other point that I wanted clarity on is there a condition currently that was accepted or that was proposed and offered around blocking construction traffic on Pollard Place to the west? Or is that just something that's done administratively during construction?
There was a condition added that the construction entrance would be limited to the eastern entrance here from Guard Trail Way on the Pollard Place extension. There was not a zoning condition for anything here. This would just, obviously this road would connect when it was time and when it was ready. And certainly from a subdivision plan administrative review, staff will look to make sure that that the construction entrance is identified over here, and zoning compliance officers will also make sure that that's being adhered to out on the site. So if we get any calls, obviously we respond to them just as we would in any other situation.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Hey, Sarah. Oh,
Mayor.
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Ms. Killersworth, go ahead. I'm sorry, who was that? Ms. Stallings, I'm sorry.
Stallings, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say that I really appreciate all of the conditions that were offered. I've been struggling with this one because of the impact on our schools and the impact letter. And I know this is a relatively small project, but I'm really struggling with this, particularly when the letter says in 5 years, there still won't be adequate school capacity. So I'm concerned that this is not the right time for this proposal.
And can I chime in? Sarah, I believe that it was 300 feet, not 275. That was written down. So with the walkway, and he referenced me in the Patrick referenced me last time. That value was one I kind of came up with or helped inspire a little bit. So I think it says 300 on the plan and not 275, like you said.
Okay, I recall there had been discussions. I do remember the numbers being thrown out there. I do not have whatever was presented in the pod last week to y'all is the correct number.
Hey, this is
I can
Patrick.
open it here in just a minute.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject. I agree with Councilman Gant. I've got 300 feet still as what we have proposed, not 275.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
I guess I did want to hear a little bit more and see how Councilmember Stallings was feeling, because I did have some heartburn with this project and in some ways. And I think what I understood was that the goal was for a multi-generational family. So there would be maybe different ages and maybe there could potentially be less impact on schools, but we don't know. And so I just wanted to know if I could hear a little bit more about that as well.
Do you mean from me, Mayor Pro Tem, or from the developer?
Oh, from the developer would be fine, but yeah, I just wanted to see, what you were thinking too. I
mean, that's my biggest concern. I think part of the problem is there's some unknowns here. If we don't have any predictions of how many school children might come to this neighborhood. We do know that many young families with school-age children move to Apex. I mean, we know that, and I really appreciate the potential for multi-generational residents. again, it's just that unknown. My concern is that I keep hearing from residents and have been hearing from residents is our rate of growth and how that impacts the quality of life for our families with school-age children. And the impact letter says that there's no predictions that we'll have adequate school capacity within 5 years for school-age children potentially served by this development. And that's my concern. I spoke with our school board member today, and she echoed that as well. So that's just my concern is rate of growth in terms of how it impacts school capacity and how that impacts the quality of life, not only for the families who move here, but potentially for the families who already live here.
Okay, thank you. And I do see a hand raised from someone from the development side of this. I couldn't identify the name.
Hi, council members. My name's Justin McKella. I'm the developer of record, I suppose. I don't know if you can call me a developer. I haven't really done this before, but I'm with the family that is doing this action. We don't have anyone that is of school age now. There's at very least one newborn and one person that is pregnant with a newborn, but they won't be school age probably within the next 5 years or so. So I think we also have, there's many members of my family that are older people in, as old as 70s and 80s, as well as kind of younger generations in their 30s or 40s or so. Some 50 and 60, et cetera. So it's kind of a wide swath, but just giving you a little bit of context there.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilmember Mahaffey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to weigh in on this topic. I guess I just wanted to note I'm excited about the fact that we're having this conversation about school capacity. I'm excited that we have a letter from the school system giving us actual data about the impact here. This is the first time that this has actually happened, that we've gotten this official impact statement since I've been on the council. It's something that I push for. I'm glad to have this data. I think we need to acknowledge that we just started getting these letters, but had we been receiving these letters for the past year, 2 years, 5 years, they all would have said that there's not enough capacity in Apex. It's a known fact. We've made some progress over the past year that I'm really proud of. We got another school as part of a different development that was proposed and offered. I think that's fantastic. We also saw a change in another school that was under construction that was enlarged to increase. So I think this is something that we're going to focus on going forward. For this development, I'm still going to support this development irregardless of the school capacity, because the developer had lowered the density. We're talking about 20 homes, and we just heard that in the actual number of children contributed, it'll only be a few for the next couple of years. But I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think as we see larger developments, not these little infill ones, it's something we have to think really hard about. And actually, I did want to add, part of the reason that I'm leaning towards supporting this is because the developer has offered conditions associated with tree preservation and replanting and affordable housing that I'm really interested in. So I'm glad to see those as part of this development.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gant.
Councilman Stallings, my reaction with your comment is I share your concern, and I think, to be honest, we're going to see an indictment of the county school system's capacity to school our children the more of these we see. And, it may or may not affect our decision for each development, but I think I anticipate every one of them having some issue at one of the levels of schools. And maybe this will help the public and us be more effective in reaching out to our school board and county commissioners about that, because it's going to, it's something that's probably been there. We've known it the whole time. That's why the residents of Apex are concerned, but we don't have control over it except for approving and denying, I guess, some of these developments. And so unless they have the school on site. So this information may be useful and scary, but I think they're all going to have that, to be honest.
Okay, any other discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Yeah, related to all of this, I would like to see us plan, a cross-sectional, what we used to call dinners or suppers with our neighbors who were representing other municipalities. So I think it is really time to have a cross-sectional virtual supper with some of the parties that, we just spoke about, but also we can't do that without our Wake County delegation. So we could talk to the county commissioners. We can talk to the school board folks all we want, but the money, comes from the state, and then obviously money comes from the feds from that. And so unless we pull in our delegation of people where the money comes from, then we won't have as robust a conversation as we need. So I think put it on the table about this is what we really need to do. And if we can't get this amount of money, put on the table how we can work together to solve the issue to enhance the quality of life for everyone. And I don't see any way of getting around it without bringing in our delegation from the other levels of government as well.
Councilman Dozier, I appreciate you. Yeah, you pointing that out. I should have gone all the way up to the federal in my kind of dissing of the school issue, because it is, it's not just a county issue. It's all the way up. So I appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussion before we vote?
This is Councilwoman Killingsworth. I am glad that we're having these discussions. There are many people that don't understand truly where the funding comes from for these types of things, where the decisions are made for putting schools in, and at what capacity it's required. So I appreciate Councilmember Stallings bringing this up and having this discussion.
And I would just like to say thank you all for your response. Sorry, Mr. Grant. Thank you all for your response, because this is a difficult decision for me because school capacity issues are very important. Could I ask the developer to weigh in a little more to maybe repeat about the multi-generational predictions you're having? It's my understanding there are going to be 33 homes potentially in this development.
Before we proceed, hold on a second. We do have legal. Ms. Hoey, did you have something?
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to caution the council on proceeding down that line, because we can't take into account who the owners are going to be of the properties and making the decision whether to approve this or not. So, the intention may be full well that it's going to be a multi-generational, and then something happens and it's not. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. I withdraw my question.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. All right. If no further discussion, we go ahead and take a vote. All right. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. All right. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Killingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Gant.
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings.
No.
Okay. Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
Okay. All right. The motion carries a vote of 4-1. Thank you, everyone. All right. We move now to public hearing 5, and this is annexation 702, Sarah Van Avery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, this is the annexation 702 and rezoning case 20CZ13 Yumiwara Farm Assembly. So these are the 3 subject properties we are talking about here on the south side of Hume Olive Road, west of New Hill Olive Chapel Road. We are looking at almost 18 3 acres, currently zoned Wake County Residential 40 RW, and proposed zoning is low density residential conditional zoning. You have been presented with all of those conditions last week. Please let me know if there are any other additional slides or questions you have in regard to the materials presented.
Okay. Thank you so much. Were there any additional comments?
No, sir, there were no comments or emails from the public regarding this.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Council colleagues, anything you want to, questions you have or discussion on it?
Yeah, Mayor, I had a discussion point. At the meeting last week, we heard one of the things I had asked the applicant was about the an extension of the side path for like the 50 feet, right there. I made a point of asking that. It's not very much side path, but maybe I'd give the background about why I care about that. Is that our long-term plan has the American Tobacco Trail going all the way down to basically this intersection. There's like a train there right now, but it's pretty close. And we have this as a recreational kind of zone, or in the land use map as a recreational thing. So that house that's right to the west of that property is newer than the other ones in that corner. And so I believe Mr. Roach they said there's a verbal agreement that if the person would agree, they would build it. And nothing was written down, so that kind of gives me a little heartache. But I really think that that's an important piece, so that if the rest of that corner develops and we extend, which I think will happen, the tobacco trail down to that section, this will be a really exciting connection point in Apex. So I want to get background about why I care about that little tiny piece, and I hope that there's successful negotiations with that person that can get built.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, Gant.
All right, motion Gant. Have a second?
Killingsworth.
I'll second.
I think I heard Councilmember Killingsworth first, so second by Killingsworth. Any further discussion on it?
Just my comments are going to be the same as last time. If I have concern about the smaller one with school capacity, I have concern about this one as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Haffey.
Yeah, and just on that topic, again, school capacity here is on the forefront of my mind. And what I'm considering is, again, the size of the development, the fact that it's what we're doing here really is tagging on 18 more acres to an adjacent, much larger development that was approved prior. The fact that this development is primarily already cleared, we're not clear cutting a bunch of trees to do this, is of interest to me. And I believe there's an affordable housing condition here as well, right? Am I remembering correctly? And I appreciate that offer of affordable housing. So again, as we get larger, I get more uncomfortable with the school capacity issue. I think we need to take into consideration the number and the density of the homes being added, and in this case, low density with a smaller development. I'm a little more uncomfortable than last time, but I'm going to support this.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Killingsworth.
Yes, I also appreciate the wording for, zero entry lots here too. There aren't a whole lot of first floor master homes, so having that as an option here is appreciated. We have people that are disabled or older, or just don't want to go up a whole bunch of stairs to get into their house. So I appreciate this option.
Thank you so much.
I thought I'd quick chime in too. I think the way this property is arranged, it's going to require quite a bit of infrastructure on that road that is needed as far as turn lanes and side paths, and it's kind of long and narrow. So, and it's low density. So in this area. So I think there are certain neighborhoods are benefit themselves mainly as far as like how they are arranged. This one is going to have a little more of a community benefit because of the infrastructure that will be required as part of this, and the fact that it's less tree filled, and especially along that road, there'll be a bigger buffer of trees. That will be, I think, in some ways, a beautifying aspect of it when you're driving down that road.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor say aye, and opposed no. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier,
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth,
Aye.
Councilmember Gant,
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings,
No.
okay, and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. All right, we move now to public hearing and possible motion to approve rezoning application 20CZ15.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the rezoning case 20CZ15 for Smithfield Road Collision Center. The applicant is proposing to rezone the portions of these two parcels from high density single family and rural residential to light industrial conditional zoning. I have not received any further information or conversation, and I did not receive any public comments since the last meeting.
Okay, thank you so much, Lauren. All right, any questions for Lauren? Okay, hearing none. Discussion or possible motion?
Killingsworth, I'll make a motion to approve. And, I really am glad to see this area through here develop, and especially a commercial type setting. So.
Okay. Dozier, second.
All right, we have a motion. Killingsworth, second. Dozier. Further discussion on it? If hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Gant.
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. All right. And moving down to public hearing number 9, staff has recommended to pull this item for now and run this through related amendments through the planning committee. So we won't be hearing this tonight. Are there any objections to this request by staff? Recommendation. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. We do have a closed session to go to now. Possible motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
All right. Motion Killingsworth. Okay.
I second it. Stallings.
Second Stallings. All right. If no discussion, all in favor say aye and opposed no. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier.
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth.
Aye.
Councilmember Gant.
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings.
Aye.
And Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
All right, that passed unanimously. We will go into closed session now. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. All right, so we're back in regular session, and what we'd like to do right now is, as we talked about in the last council meeting, our town manager is moving on to North Carolina. So as part of the process, we identified an interim town manager candidate. And what I would like to do right now is to make that public acknowledgement. And if I could get a motion for this interim town manager appointment. So the motion would be to appoint Mr. Ralph Clark as the interim town manager effective February 6th. So with that, can I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make the motion to appoint Ralph Clark as interim town manager effective February 6th.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mahaffey.
Mrs. Killingsworth, I'll second that.
All right, Killingsworth second. All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye, and opposed no. Mayor Pro Tem Dozier,
Aye.
Councilmember Killingsworth,
Aye.
Councilmember Gant,
Aye.
Councilmember Stallings,
Aye.
and Councilmember Mahaffey.
Aye.
Okay, that passed unanimously, and thank you very much for this. We're excited about Mr. Clark moving in, transitioning in to move us forward. So that is the last item on the agenda. If there is no further discussion or items, we will adjourn the meeting. All right, meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.